Hey folks, we're here at Oglethorpe. I didn't video the first part of the trip from WAYCROSS at all the other yards on our way up, Fitzgerald, etc. It would have been a pretty long video, but we're gonna continue on from here. I just dropped off all the local cars for the Oglethorpe A724, etc. We're going to be leaving out here. I'm trying to get going because we got another train coming. I need to get out in front of him. So we're going to head this way. This will be non-stop all the way to Manchester from here on out. I think we got maybe just 15 cars left. But on the way up here, I think in all we had over 100 cars. And this is a supply train. Let me go ahead and put where we're going to. Destination. We do have a northbound train coming, but he's still a ways back, so we shouldn't get held up. We are going to meet an oncoming train also shortly. I probably spent about 45 minutes here at this yard. We dropped off quite a bit of cars here. And I separated them a little bit, not a whole lot, but I just, tried to separate some of them, kind of help them out a little bit. A731 cars, I think A732. I think that was the other ones. This live ATC live radio out of, I think it's southeastern Wisconsin. No particular reason, you can always pick them up on the railroadradio.net deal. It's usually something going on there. So I like playing them in the background. I got it down about as low as I can get it on. I got it on 2. I could go down to 1 because for some reason or another it's a little bit loud today. Normally I got it up around 14 on the volume. But I started this yesterday, but of course it's still the same day in the sim because it's 5 o'clock now. That's what we're looking like. If you see any of my videos, like them, follow me. I'd like to make some more content. We need more Run 8 content. And in my background, I used to be a locomotive engineer and a conductor. I worked a large yard in Alabama. It was 28 years ago in the 90s. I did that for 7 years. And I'm just kind of doing this for fun. Kind of how we did it. We didn't use the same exact terminology as like Norfolk Southern or CSX. We were just a private company on a real big yard. Basically, like I said in my other videos, it was about like switching 5 to 7 industries because we had 3 different plant units that we supplied cars for, and they could load up to 18 cars a day at each one of those hopper cars. We spotted up acetic tank cars, caustic tank cars. We washed hopper cars. And also we had a rest car service where they repaired rail cars. We had another chemical part of the plant that we supplied a lot of tank cars to. It was pretty busy. It was full days, 5 days a week, and I think they've added more track now than what they used to have. And the contractor I worked for, they really didn't have any railroad background. We were just brought in, you know. I worked there, started out as a loader, and then moved to the switch crew pretty quick. So they were just, you know, just a contractor at a plant. Whereas nowadays, you know, like PSC and different rail services, you see a lot of rail services now at plants and stuff that supply the rail switching and stuff. Back in that time in the 90s, 1992, 97, when I was out there, you know, we were just a regular contractor, but, you know, somebody come new, hire in, you know, we would just train them. I operated 3 different locomotives. The one that's in my profile pic on YouTube, I operated MP15 switcher. And then the last 2 years, we leased a Norfolk Southern engine. It was the 4-axle, didn't have dynamic braking, I don't think. It was similar to a GP38 or GP40. I don't really remember which one it was back then, but, and I don't think I really cared back then at that time. And like I said, I was in my early 20s. Basically, this is the final drop of the cars for the 724 up here in Manchester for the A720 local. That's the remaining cars we got. And then on the way back down, it'll be an A723 picking up cars going to WAYCROSS. Like I said, my background, we mainly just worked on the yard. We went outside the yard maybe a half a mile sometimes, but, you know, we didn't have to deal with any signals or any of that stuff. So, you know, I'm not as familiar with all the signals and stuff like that. Definitely wasn't over the road. We strictly stuck to the yard. But it was a busy yard. And it was, you know, like I said, it was like 5 to 7. You're serving 7 customers within that yard. They're still going today. I think they're a little bit bigger than what we was back then. I think they got a couple of engines. And we operated track mobiles and stuff like that. And we operated one very similar to the one that's in Run 8. And then we also had another one that a little bit bigger we'd use. This plant coming up right here on the right, Tyson Foods, here on the Fitzgerald sub. I think I did a video on this one earlier because we'd switched it. A726, I believe. A726 video. They take a lot of grain hopper cars here, and they've got a switcher set up here. I used it to move the loaded cars out. I put them down this outbound track here, this side runaround track, and then come up with the A26 with the loaded cars and back them in here on a couple of tracks. Spotted them up on these unloaders. There's the switcher. And the one I drove was very similar to that one. Lighter blue color though. The paint scheme like the one in my profile of the RWL 1000 that's on that picture. Okay, yeah, they're going to be putting us on a side track up here because we're meeting a K train. I mainly like switching the locals, I guess, because that's all we did was switching and stuff. That's what I really like doing. Servicing the industries and stuff. But I'll run the supply trains too, the manifests. I didn't video it, but I did run a supply train, the TDSI auto racks from WAYCROSS to Taft down in Florida. I think that's where it went. That was a long ride. Took a long way to get down there. Took a long time to get down there. It was a long way. I'll try to catch these roads. Sometimes I get to talking and I miss them. got to be at 25. We're going in on this side track. It'll be at 25.5 a mile. We're meeting Q train, Q255. K984 is the one that's coming up from behind us. This is Q255 we're meeting. We're going in a little hot. Not too bad. See how we got a little hot there, minus 0.94 on the grade percentage. Picked up some speed. And I like using air because that's all we used back then. We didn't have any dynamic brakes, which I'll use dynamic, but I know when I've used dynamic in this sim a good bit, can be subjected to getting a few knuckles. We've got roughly around 40 miles to go. Maybe a little over that. see where they at. Close. You know, the 7 years that I was on the switch crew, we really didn't have any bad accidents or anything like that. We did have one pretty good sized derail. We were coming down one of our main tracks, and the switch throwed in between the cars at the runaround point. And of course, like you'd expect, one of the cars went one way, and then it was just didn't have any cars roll over, but they did derail. They had to have cranes and everything. It was probably about 3 or 4 cars derailed. What had happened was a bolt. Taft, yeah, Taft. That's where I took those cars. TDSI, I believe. I think they were Taft. I know they went to Florida. Those switches, they have an arm underneath the track that stretches over and attaches to the part of the track that connects. And what happened was, I think a bolt, they said a bolt had come out, and it allowed it to move when we went over the top of it. Bolt that attaches the switch to the arm or something like that. It was a costly derail though, but I just remember that. Yeah, I'm thinking I wasn't driving that day, but I was riding up in the cab. I think we came to a stop pretty quick. We didn't know what was going on. And then the only other issue, we had another driver. He was pushing up the hill. We was taking quite a few cars up the hill to spot him up to the load or something like that, or there could have been some loaded cars hooked to him too. And he didn't get to come in pretty hot. He didn't get the train stopped quick enough. We hit the backstop, and I think we had like a little small scale car, a little round scale car with weights on it, real heavy little thing. They used it to check the scales where they loaded these hopper cars, and it was sitting back there against that backstop because that's usually where we just kept it out of the way. And I think it popped it off the track, tore the backstop up, had to replace that. It was a pretty good hit. All right, we got the green. I think the engineer that day, I think he just kind of come in too hot, let him get away from him. I don't think it was the guy calling out the car count. Which wasn't me. But there's been a few times where I've kind of let the car count get away, let it get too short, and I've had to say, just good enough. That's good right there. And when that happens, the engineer, just go on and throw in an emergency. Just stop as quick as you can. But that locomotive that's in my profile pic, that was one of them I operated. At the time I was driving, I really didn't care and didn't really know what it was called, but I later found out it was an RWL 1000 Republic engine. I reckon they build those things or rebuild them or something. It was a good little engine. Real good. But, we was constantly having to move a lot of cars, 40 and 50 cars at a time, and it just it wasn't getting the job done. And their other engine was a little MP15. It had even less horsepower than it. So they worked out a lease deal, because our Norfolk Southern was the one that come in at night and pick up our rail cars. We'd have them spotted up, and we shipped 20, 30 at least a night. We shipped quite a bit. And the plant that I worked at, is big company, they ended up working out a lease deal. I assume, I never did ask, I just assumed it was a lease. We just showed up one night and there the engine was there, but they worked out a deal where they could use one of their black Norfolk Southern engines. They just dropped it off at our yard one night when they brought the inbounds in and left it there for us, and we just started driving it. It was just like operating that RWL Blue engine in my profile pic. It was real similar, just more horsepower. It was 4-axle, didn't have dynamic brakes, I don't believe. Like I said, this was the last 2 years, so this would have been around 96, 97. Need to go and get my speed up so we ain't taking all day. Go on, run 8. This is so much better than train sim, and I like train sim. It was just mainly passenger trains. They had freight trains on there, but you couldn't really service industries and stuff like that. More what I'm familiar with. A lot of switching, you know. Run 8's where it's at on stuff like that, and especially with American freight trains and stuff. We got plenty of horsepower when we get closer to Manchester, get up those hills now, because we dropped off so many cars. I started out on the AGS because that's what I'm more familiar with. I go across the AGS several times a day. Went across it today, and I go across part of the AGS that's in train sim, the Birmingham area. I'm going across it all the time. And one of the customers on the AGS in the sim, whole sim cement in Bessemer, I've actually been to that plant before, delivered a load there, not by train, not by rail. And it's pretty close, it's pretty accurate. But the only thing I'll say is the silos are a lot bigger. They've done a real good job. The AGS, and I know there's going to be an add-on for it here for long, possibly by the end of the year, probably, most likely, from what I heard. And take it on down to Meridian, Mississippi. So I learned that real good. Stayed on that for several months, many months, until recently I decided to go ahead and try out the CSX Fitzgerald sub. And I'm glad I did, because it is really good. The Fitzgerald is great. Well, the rest of them are good too, but I like that you can tie them all together, like the A-line, WAYCROSS. You need to get WAYCROSS, because that's the hub. That's where the hump yard is. Get Baldwin, get Savannah, and I like that Riceboro too down there. It's south over. I done it. I don't think I did any videos on it, but I will in the future. I didn't know it, but that guy talking right there, that's Danny Harmon on the Distant Signal YouTube channel. And after I got to listen to it, I'd heard that he had done some of this. for run 8, and yeah, I believe that's him. I think that's what I heard he done. That sounds like him. He's got a real good channel. Covers a lot of stuff in Georgia, Florida.
CSX equipment defect detector milepost 740.8. No defects. Total axles 8. 0. End of transmission.
You know, like I said, I'm by no means no expert. It's been 28 years. I just love doing this, and I don't mind making videos and just kind of sharing like how we did things. You know, how our terminology was, you know, was a little different than what Norfolk Southern would use, but close. Gets the same job done. That's just how we did it. See what we're looking like. Yep. He's holding up that Q55 train, the one we just passed. Went around, you know. Well, they still holding him back there for the K984 train. That's him coming in behind us. They making him wait. See in the upper right, Q255, he's still sitting there. And you can see, go over to the lower left middle ways, K984, he's coming through, so he's gonna come around on that side track like we did. So that 255, they holding him right there. You know, I'd like to see us get more Run 8 people making videos and stuff. And the people that make them now is great. It's just, it'd be nice to have more variety. I try to talk. I don't talk as much as others. I try to talk as much as I can. I seen them red lights, making sure. Because I don't really like, I mean, I can watch them, but I don't really like videos that, you know, it's just strictly just, you know, train movement and stuff and no talking at all. And I don't really like videos that's always at night, because it's harder to see, you know. That's why a lot of times on these, which some of my videos, it starts to get dark, I may move it back an hour or two to keep it daylight. I'm just, what this video is a continuation of what I'd already started that I didn't video. You know, I basically started out all day working the hump yard and stuff like that. Didn't video it, but, and you know, maybe I need to start doing more if I want more videos out there. But you know, when you're in single player mode like this, man, you are busy. You'll never get caught up in single player, and that's what I like doing. Because I like to try and run most all the locals. So what I did was, day before yesterday, I believe, and it may have took me 2 actual full days to do it, you know, sim time, I brought the 723 down after I did all the switching and stuff. That way I could have empties or WAYCROSS cars to pick up. I brought the A724 down, run it in on the receiving yard at WAYCROSS. Then I did a bunch of car humping, humped all those cars, a bunch of other cars, and then put them over on side tracks. for outbounds. Did a lot of other feeder train stuff. Going uphill now. I probably spent a couple of hours down there in WAYCROSS doing all that stuff. Getting it, you know, pulling cars off of tracks and stuff, pulling cars out of the bowl, doing a lot of trimming. And I had the A724 pretty much already built, just sitting there, and it sat there for probably almost 2 days built. I fine-tuned it there before I pulled out and left WAYCROSS. Early this morning, sim time on this. See, I started out this morning. I like to start out when it's just a little bit of daylight. I think it was somewhere around 7 a.m. So that's how many hours you can see that I've done put into this. And I'm at this point right here because I didn't video any of the departing WAYCROSS with the 724 with like 120 something cars. I went ahead and stopped off like Cordell, a couple of different locations. Fitzgerald, and then there at Oglethorpe, I did all that switching. I didn't video it, and then I just started the videos now, leaving Oglethorpe with the 724 with the remaining cars I've got here for the A720. The A720 in Manchester serves 3 customers: Sneed Feed, another yard that's up here, they service RLT or something like it, Ray Lanyard, take tank cars and gravel or something like that. And then got the big Georgia Pacific, Warm Springs or whatever it's called up here. They're the big main customer. Take lots of box cars, tank cars, chip cars. Now I pretty much have almost all the packs. I don't do very little West Coast stuff because I'm just not familiar with it. I went over there and checked it out with what came with the sim and stuff. But I usually don't buy many of the packs that's the locomotive packs, you know, it's like the West Coast engines and stuff. Unless there's one particular that I need. But I've got most of all the rail cars, including the passenger. I think there may be one pack on the passengers I don't have, but I've got most of them. But this one particular car, it's probably not a chip car because it has the ends opens up on them. But I bought that pack and I added it to some of these industries that have take chip cars and do stuff like that, just so I could use the car because, you know, I bought the pack and I really hadn't seen any of them in the sim, so I ended up putting it in the sim because I done bought it, so I'm using it. I've got a lot of those cars going to like Riceboro down there at that paper mill down there, and then we got a bunch of them up here, and I think there may be 1 or 2 on this train right now of those cars. Let's see if we can see. Yeah, that one right there. That one right there. I bought that pack. Now when it's loaded, it's got a black cover on it. And it, best I can tell, it don't unload from the bottom. It's got 2 end doors. If anybody knows what it's used for, I really ain't been able to find out. But I'm using chip cards as well as those. And like I said, we didn't, you know, I'll just operate in a yard. We didn't have to deal with any lights or anything like that. I'll try my best not to run any lights, but I have been known to run a few. That's when I have to take over from Otto. .45 and 1.8 miles. Here we are right here. Yeah, this is a long little side track right here. Off to the side right here. I forget which local it was, but I've had to come down here with the local and run around it, and it took a while. Yeah, we're on a 1% grade right now. Now, when I had like 120 something cars, I actually had 3 engines coming up, but I got rid of one of them at Oglethorpe. Dropped down to 2 because we don't have a lot of cars. But I like to have plenty of horsepower to get up these hills because we're going to start going up some hills. You know, the graphics may not be as good as Train Sim World, but it's good enough for me. And the thing about it is, I've had, all right, we got 7,190 rail cars in the world right now, total. 7,190. I was up to 10,000 and something at one point. You know, a lot of stuff with that many, especially if you're working down in WAYCROSS. I mean, that'd kill your frame rates probably in Train Sim World. Which I got a really good graphics card. I got a GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super, 16 gigs of memory. It's pretty good. It's not too far off from a 4080. And my processor's pretty good. It's not the fastest, but it's on up there. I forget what it is, but it's not the fastest, but it's like the next tier down close. So I got a pretty beefy system, and I got a lot of RAM too. I think I got a gig of RAM, I believe. But the reason my system's so beefed up like that, and I got that much RAM and stuff, is because I built it for Flight Simulator, which I still got that. And that's one reason I'm using these controllers I'm using, the Thrustmaster controllers, because it's got the 4-axis across it. And it works great for me. And you can look at my other videos. I got a video of it. I talk about it. I actually ordered the rail driver. And I liked the rail driver. It was nice, but I just seen it back the next day. I just didn't feel like it was as good a quality as this Thrustmaster. You know, you could say, well, that's a flight sim setup, but it's just a piece of plastic. It's got 4-axis across it. Works good. I've got all bases covered with it. And then I've also got knobs and buttons for like the wipers, the sanders, everything, the horn. So I just kept this. This probably costs a little more than the rail driver, what I've got set up here. But you look at my other video, you'll see what I'm talking about. And you'll hear the clicking and stuff in my videos. That's what that is, operating it. A lot of gravel pits and stuff up this way. I think that may be one back there. Marietta Mining or something like that. You know, just being picky, it's fine like it is, but if I would have been making if I were making this, like, if you played this any amount of time, you're always going to notice that big red 18-wheeler truck coming up to the crossings everywhere you go. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just had like little basic white cars, just kind of indistinguishable vehicles. That way, you know, you're not seeing the same big red 18-wheeler that's so obvious every different place you go. If you just used regular little white vehicles, cars, you know, a couple of different shapes, it wouldn't be as noticeable. Then like on that AGS right there outside of Bessemer, they got where that wreck is. I mean, it's kind of funny, neat that they did that, but you're stuck with that wreck scene the whole time you're playing it. Every time you go by that track, it's always a wreck there. I just wouldn't have done nothing like that. But I mean, that's just being picky. But I'd say probably the lighting is one of the greatest things this sim offers. One of that and the industries. I mean, it's just really good. To me, it rivals. I mean, like I said, I had the latest Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, all those. I mean, it's just as good as those. It's really good, and it's better than Train Sim. And I like the way these plowed fields and stuff, the way it looks really good. Yeah, Fitzgerald sub's done real good. I'm glad I got it. Money well spent. If you don't have it, get it. And go on and get the WAYCROSS too. But the replayability of this is just, man, it's just super. And you will always have stuff to do, especially in single player mode. Always. Always busy. Especially if you're going to kind of do it right, if you're going to try and do everything. Which I know, you can't really do everything like. I hadn't even gotten, I've had the A-line for maybe close to a month, and I ain't even, it may not have been that long, 3 weeks at least. And I've only been down on it one time, pretty much, you know, down in deep into Florida. I've been to Baldwin once, and I've been to Savannah once. It takes a lot of time. I mean, it really takes all your time just to keep up the Fitzgerald and WAYCROSS still. So I don't know when I'll get down to the A-line, because there's so many industries down there, you know, and this is my second. And like I said, I've done had this for maybe a month, the Fitzgerald, and this is only my second time of coming all the way back up this track from WAYCROSS to Manchester. Only my second time, you know, to do the full run. Because, you know, it'll take you a whole afternoon, several hours, usually just to do one local. This is another thing I like. You can zoom in and read like stuff, look at stuff coming ahead like this, and it slows everything down. That is really neat the way they do that. Going downhill now. 1% down, negative grade. See, that's the first thing I want to grab is the air, because that's all I'm used to. Instead of the dynamic. We'll use a little dynamic now. We don't have a whole lot of cars. But when I have used the dynamic, and maybe I was too aggressive with it because I ain't used to using it, I've gotten some knuckles. Which I can understand why, because you put all the pressure on the knuckles. private crossings, I guess. Just 1 or 2 horn blows quick is enough. Get that barn. I like this old scenery like this. It looks good. You done a good job on it. We got maybe just a little under 30 miles left, 28 miles, something like that. And whoops. Let's see. Yeah, we're not meeting any other trains. We got a reduction to 40 in a mile and a half. Here's some of those big gravel rock quarries. another industry up there will service. I think it's Covina Holdings Brown Sand. We got plenty of horsepower. We are at 4.4 per ton. Only 17 cars left to drop off up here. Another thing that happens, and I seen another YouTuber, I think it was Spur Gaming, and I agree with him. You won't hit every customer, which he should know because he done it. I was just in the yard. You won't hit every customer every day. And another thing about this sim, you will get overloaded, because I did on the AGS, and I'm seeing it over here on WAYCROSS too. You'll get too many cars. So you're going to have to slow the AI trains down, cut them back a little bit, especially the manifest is the main thing. The manifest, because you will get overloaded with cars. And you know, a lot of you customers, they might not take but one car every so often. And you go in on your industries and change some of that too. And watch my VLS video where I switch out VLS ERS and I talk about setting up those, you know, they deal with a lot of cars where they wash and clean up cars and stuff, and repair cars at ERS, and VLS they wash cars and stuff. But you don't want to set all those tracks with the red dots, because you'll be overwhelmed with cars. You just want to, then that's the one thing about Run 8 I wish they would do, is give you, you know, some places, a lot of the industries you do have the option, but some industries you don't. If you're going to give that track red dots, sometimes you have to give it the whole track red dots. That's all the option they give you. I don't really like that. I wish you could just always do it in sections, you know, say 100 feet at a time or a couple of 100 feet at a time. And that'll cut down on the amount of cars getting serviced. So if you go in there and drop 8 cars, all 8 ain't gonna get serviced at once. It'll just be the few on the red dots. Yeah, I remember this curve right here. Pretty good sharp little curve. Throws you at an angle. It's got a good banking on it. See, I've been talking, I missed this crossing. But, you know, back to the industries, you've got to cut down on the number of cars, because it's just way too many. You'll get overloaded. And you can go in, and some of these places, little warehouses and stuff, where they got like one car for 24 hours, you need to up that up to like 60 hours or 72 in some places. That way you ain't switching them every day. And, you know, you can go in and do all that and edit the tracks. And then another thing that I noticed that I need to start doing more of, I noticed it at an industry I did yesterday. I think it's on one of my videos, NAG Nutrients Ag.
CSX Equipment Defect Detector Milepost 762.7.
You know, you can do your research on the industry and see what all they do and stuff like that. But you also want to kind of do how the industry is set up in the sim. So like at NAG, they got 2 oil tank racks with the drop down ladders and the ramp to get on the rail cars. The only reason I'm talking about that is because I used to unload rail cars, and and we did a lot of that stuff, spotting rail cars for ramps. But anyway, at the NAG industry, you don't really need to put big tank cars in there because, you know, it's hard to spot them up. You know, if you want to kind of be realistic, line the tank cars up with the overhead racks. You know, that's designed for small tank cars, like the UTLX 104 tank cars, short black tank car. That's got 2 drop-down boarding ramps at the top to get on top of the rail cars. It's got 2 of them. So, and the only room you got right there on that track is for 2 small tank cars. So they don't need to be long tank cars. So, you know, they need to take short tank cars. Because I went in there and spotted up the tank cars and they just wouldn't fit right. The racks wasn't lining up or nothing. And it's because I had long tank cars. So I changed all that and put the short black tank cars. And I also, I don't remember if I did a Riceboro video, but I may have not. But, you know, with your acid tank cars, which in the sim, they use the white and red striped tank cars. That's fine. Where I used to work at, our acid tank cars were like GATX, UTLX, black tank cars. And they were big placard, which, you know, you can do that in the sim. You can placard the tank cars, you know, if you want, how real you want to make it. But the acid tank cars are usually the ones we had. Acetic acid were placard 2789, I believe. I know the first 2 digits was 27. So you can go in the placards and it's on there like 27 something, 2789 or 27818 or something like that. 27. That's the acid placard. That's just a, you know, a number that designates what chemicals in the car. And then what you're supposed to do after you unload the tank car, you flip the placard to show its residue that the car's empty. But of course you can't do that in the sim. But where I used to work at, we had to do that. When the tank car empty, you're supposed to flip it to residue placard. This is another one of those mining industries backed up that way. I think K-Trains come in and do a lot of that service. And then, like, a lot of plants take what they call caustic cars. They, like, we used it for cleaning out tanks and stuff, the caustic. And they're placard 18, 1.8. You can put a 1.8 on caustic cars. And the caustic cars that we got were white with the black paint in the middle. Those were our caustic cars that we used. There'll be different colors and stuff, but I'm just giving an example. And they were always placard 1.8 was the first 2 digits. I don't remember what the second 2 is, but a 1.8 placard for caustic car, tank car, 2.7 placard for the acid cars, or at least acetic acid that we use was 2.7. I mean, you can put them on there, and it looks pretty good. So, you know, just one more thing you can do. We're running a little over the speed, not too bad. We're in a big hilly area, up and down some steep hills. Let's see where we're at. Yeah, we're making good progress. We just got to go to here, so we're getting there. Probably going to get there just before dark, so I won't have to take the clock back a little. We're at 7,269 units in the world right now. You can't see it, I don't believe, but it says I'm at 130 frames per second, which my system is well overmatched for this sim because I got everything maxed out. See, there's that red 18-wheeler. If it was just a regular car sitting there and that old Ford pickup truck, I mean, I'm just being picky, you know, but I mean, if it was just, I would just put regular, just a basic car, and then it wouldn't be that noticeable. But I'm being picky. We're up to 50 now. Another mining facility. That'd be a dedicated K train. Those bin cars come up here, and I believe they go out on Lineville. They come up to Manchester because I've seen them setting up here. I don't know where bin is, what those stand for. I've printed off a lot of stuff, but none of the stuff I have has bin on it. Some of the locations. Another thing too, which I'm kind of fortunate I have a laminate machine. I've laminated some stuff like signal charts and stuff like that. And also another thing you can do, print off all the maps, from the depot. Go with the depot. Well, starting out I didn't do the depot. Industry configuration and stuff like that. But it does make it easier if you go with the industry config and then print off all their route maps and stuff and write on them. Make notes on them, like so many cars can go here on this runaround, or just stuff like that. What local's doing that one? Just makes it easier. I printed off a lot of the manual. It's expensive though. Ink is expensive to print. I printed most of it off though. I've got a lot of stuff where I can just sit around and read. Because if I just leave it on the computer, I might not sit there and read it off. If I can go sit in my recliner later, just look it over, catch up on it, I'll do it. It's helped me a lot. And then take a lot of notes when you first get it and you're learning how to do stuff, like this key and this key bind does this, and I wrote it down. Like my first page off the manual maps that I printed off, it's just filled with stuff where I wrote on there, this does this. You have to really kind of play it pretty regular to stay in tune with all the key binds and stuff, because if you don't use it for a long time, you'll lose it. But I do play Run 8 pretty much every day, but I don't video everything. The Snowza Powza guy, I like his videos too, because he does a lot of talking. He goes through, reviews the routes and stuff. I like his videos. Watch a lot of his. Spur Gaming, watch a lot of his stuff. He's got a ton of videos. Watched a lot of his, and he's the guy that used to work for CSX. Watched a lot of videos from I think it's Warren Van Ross. He's got a lot of good instructional videos on there. He gets into a lot of detail. He uses spreadsheets and all kind of other stuff on the computer, stuff like that, which is good. But I don't really do all that stuff. I need to pre-plan more, but now the way we did that, that's something else I can talk about here. Oh yeah, we're getting closer. Make sure we still got our destination, Manchester Yard block. And double click it again. lot of crossings right through here. I don't remember what I was going to say now. You know, we would come in, certain people, and I was one of them that would do it. We'd come in early when I was on the switch crew. We'd go out and write down. We have to prepare a track list, so we'd come in early, a couple hours early, like 4 a.m. Go out in the yard. We had a lot of track, and find out, you know, where all the inbounds are, which is usually on certain tracks. We tried to keep 3 or 4 main tracks for inbounds for Norfolk Southern, so they could just push their cars in, drop them, and then pick up all our. We'd have our loaded cars sitting on a couple of tracks. Just simplify it for them, because you know they got a lot to do. Yeah, I need to slow down. Just done dropped down to 40. I missed that. Talking. We'd go down, we'd make our track list out, write down what cars inbound was dropped, write them on the track list, redo the track list, have it prepped for the day, all the cars listed. Track list would be a front and I believe a back, front and a back. And we'd fold it up, and each switch, you know, ground guy, everybody, we would have. The guy on the train kept the main list, and he would write down, he was the one that was writing down where the cars were going on the track list. When we moved to this track, these cars went here, and he kept a record of it, so that it could be updated for the next day. But we'd go out, get all the inbounds, wrote down stuff, and then plan. And whoever would, we rotated this. Lead guy on the ground would be the one decide how we're going to do everything for the day. All the moves, he'd pre-plan at least, you know, the first couple of hours of work, how we're going to do it and stuff. Because you really had to think about it, because you didn't want to bury a bunch of cars that you were going to have to pull out later. So you had to stay a couple of steps ahead of your next moves. We're 35 now, and I'm way over. And I've already found out on one of these curves up here, you will derail if you go around too fast. Back up to 40 now. We loaded hopper cars, unloaded hopper cars, washed hopper cars. I've also unloaded tank cars, never loaded any. Operated different track mobiles, 2 different types. There's a lot of rail work going on in that yard. Plus, basically, it's just a big plant, but I mean, it's still a big rail yard. It required a switch crew of, it was 4 or 5 of us. Always at least, bare minimum, 3 to 4 people. Counting the locomotive there, guys. We rotated that. We rotated driving the train and working the ground, throwing switches and stuff. lot of you modern trains have all the controls right here in front of you. This is what I'm more familiar with, set up like this on the side. When everything I operated was like this. Just gonna hold right here because 2.5 miles we're gonna be down to 35. About to come into Woodland. So we've already been driving for an hour. I think we started about 5:20. Somewhere around in there. Sim time. 16:21 now. I mean 18:21 now. I probably said it in other videos, but I like the SD70s because you can kind of see, you got a good view out the back like the switchers do. Got a setup going into the yard now, so we're good. Because I was gonna have to do it if it did. I have seen it, even though you had designated you're going into that yard, it would just keep you going straight on for some reason. I mean, it could be something I've done wrong, I don't know, but it's done me like it several times. Starting to go up grade a good bit now. You see speed dropping off a little. Yep, already at 1%. Yeah, you need some horsepower to be able to come into Manchester if you got a lot of cars. No issue, we could have done this with one locomotive with the amount of cars we got, easy. So we're going to be getting here right before dark. What I will probably do is go ahead and, once we get done with this, park the train up here. The 724, then we'll switch into the turn to us. Which I think it's already a locomotive up here, I believe, labeled A723, but if it wasn't, we would just relabel these locomotives to A723, which will go down and pick up cars headed for WAYCROSS, shipping cars. On the way back down, we'll come back down on 723, but probably do is get up here. I'll fast forward this time to the morning time, 6:30, 7 a.m. to start the next day off. And that'll trigger some of the industries to make sure some of the cars is done. And then we'll start switching again. May start out with the 720 switch up here in the morning. Work our way back down. If I do that. Unless I decide to do a run from WAYCROSS to South Over Yard and then do the Riceboro, Genesis in Wyoming, do that little private railroad. They service 3 industries, and they'll come up to the south side, bring their empties up from their 3 industries up to the south side yard, then they'll pick up, do an exchange with CSX, and take their industry cars back down the Genesis and Wyoming Railroad. It's 18 miles. Private track runs back down through there to Riceboro. And I have switched those already, did that. I don't think I videoed it. .80 grade still uphill. Speed limit's 35. We're at this mile marker 778. 786 is when we hit South Manchester. Yeah, we hadn't got to Woodland yet, but we're coming up on it. You can see us right here, top right. I went in and cut back on the amount of AI trains, and we can look at those here. Shift F2. I have seen this way full, and you could even scroll, so it's a lot less trains. And the big thing is reducing the number of manifest trains, bringing cars in to keep you from getting overloaded. Go in and edit those things. You can change out the customers that those manifest trains service. That's where printing off all these manuals tells you how to do all that stuff. believe it's Control, key binding Control Z, brings up, highlights this right here, brings this screen up, and then you can hit, I believe it's X and C. Yeah, C goes to the right, X comes back to the left, and you go to different screens. Then you hit Control Z again, I think it highlights this screen, you can move it around, have different things on it. I had to figure that out on my own. I mean, I dug it out of the manual too, but I seen somebody putting this up and I couldn't figure out how they was getting it on there. But when you're switching industries and stuff like that, I mean, you're switching out plants and stuff, there's several different ways you can do it usually. Now, usually there may be one way that's more efficient, better way to do it, but there are several different ways you can switch. You're going to leave the track, leave cars here on this track, go get cars, come back to this track, grab these, or take cars with you, go pick up them, move them out of the way, bring cars back. It's different ways you can do things. Sometimes one way is better than the other, but a lot of pre-planning and stuff like that, kind of thinking one step ahead for your next. That's one thing you got to do, when you're doing local and stuff like that. I probably don't always do it, but it does make it a little simpler. And if you're gonna be working off the main line, you need to be pretty efficient at it and quick as possible. That way you're not holding up the main line as much. Have your cars in the proper order and way to get in, get out, and get it done. But it's time consuming. It takes a long time. And that's another thing about Run 8. It's it pretty much, however long it takes you in real life to do this, to do a local, whatever, it's almost as long in this. It's a little quicker, but now if you want to be super realistic, you could make it as long as it is in real life. Hooking up the air hoses at each car that need to be, walking to the back of every hookup, walk every one of the cars to the back. Oh yeah, you could make it just, as long as in real life. Alright, we got 30-mile-an-hour speed limit and 1.3 miles. Getting close. grade right here.
CSX equipment defect detector milepost 783.3. CSX equipment defect detector milepost 783.3. No defects. Total axles 8. 0. End of transmission.
Miles an hour and 2.9 miles. Still at a 1% grade. We're at the speed limit of 30. 2.1 miles to drop down to 10. 2.2 miles drop down to 15 as we start to go into the yard. You can set this alerter up somewhere on here. Yeah, right here. Realistic alerter time. It'll go off a lot more. Basically realistic. But it still goes off. Just not as much. I kind of like it like that. I don't mind it going off every once in a while. But it'll go off a lot more if you use realistic alerter time. About a mile and a half from entering the yard. You can see up there the top of the screen. Well, we're still 0.87 grade. starting to drop down a little bit. Now we're going downhill. So we're going to start picking up speed here just a little bit. As more of the rail cars start getting cresting the hill. Yeah, we're up on the foothills. Half a mile to the 20 speed limit. Slow down here. We're in the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. We're still on a 1.8 downgrade. Stop right here. I don't think it's anything up here. I'm gonna make sure. So I think I brought everything down on the 2723. Make sure. It was a lot of stuff up here, and I took it to WAYCROSS. Okay, yeah, so the only thing setting up here is the 720 local. This track is completely clean, so we can just run straight in. We'll let the locals sort them out how they want it. And then the 724, we'll change it to 723 and come back down, you know, sim date tomorrow or something possibly. Alright. Yeah, we'll just leave this like it is. Perfectly fine. Then they can go in and let's see. No, we don't have a lot of cars. Let's go in on this shorter track. Make it a little easier for them to sort them. Yeah, let's do that. Come on through the switch. All the 720 local stuff will be north, going the way we're going now, northbound. All the industries. They got one right here close to yard, small one. About a car. Half. Quarter. 2 wheels, that's good enough. I think we're okay. Yeah. Make sure. Oh yeah. Just didn't want to get crossways on the track. Go ahead, go on through the switch. We are just getting in here before it starts getting too dark. I mean, you know, to see everything real good. I just think the Run 8 videos are better in the daytime. You can see more about what's going on. Go all the way up here to the end and stop. We'll cut loose from these cars and move over to the side out of the way. We'll probably pull right back down here to the south end, park the locomotives. They'll be re-tagged for A724 southbound to WAYCROSS. We'll pick up at Oglethorpe, Fitzgerald, the Cordell side yard, where the A730 usually parks. Those 3 locations will be where we pick up cars, and of course from here in Manchester, we'll take down. it kind of works out good because when you start out at Manchester, you got to go through a bunch of hills, and you won't have as many cars starting out going down, so that works good. And then on your way up in the 724, you know, you've done lost most of your cars like we are today before we started getting to the hills and stuff in Manchester, so you can kind of get away with, you know, needing 3 locomotives or 4, depending on how many cars you got. That's good enough right there. Okay. All right, come on through the switch. One. All right. 2 wheels. Good enough. Ease on back. Of course, I was a lot younger. I can remember swinging on and off of these cars, and there was a technique to it. You know, never would stop, let you off. It was always, you know, at least going this fast most of the time. And you could grab a hold of these bar and kind of swing yourself backwards and almost slow yourself down the way you swing down and then step to get on the ground. It was like a smooth motion the way you would do it, you know, just because you've done it so much. You could kind of actually slow your momentum down a little bit by swinging backwards and getting off at the same time. The way we did it, it's kind of hard to explain, but it was pretty neat. Something we learned to do, you know. It's just too bad, you know, in the 90s when I was doing all this, you know, we didn't have a lot of the technology. All we had was like pagers and stuff. And only at the very end, like 97, did we start. I think that's about when I got my first cell phone. So we didn't really have, you know, like if I'd have been doing this now, I'd have had like videos and pictures and a lot of different stuff. Basically got nothing from the whole 7 years in the 90s, 1990, 1997. I personally don't have anything, any videos or pictures or anything. I wished I did. Some people, like our boss, may have some stuff at the time. Our boss, he may have some stuff or something, but I don't. I would have liked to have had some stuff. One thing I did do when I left in 97, I stayed on that site. That's good enough. Back it up just a little. Got to talking, brought you too far. Back up just a little. The only reason I even left this railroad job is I went to work inside the plant further in as a chemical operator. And it paid a lot more money. That's the reason I left. But I remember my son, who was real young at the time, I brought him out there. Probably wasn't supposed to, but I did. I brought him out there and let him ride on the train because I knew I might not ever do it again. So I brought him out there and got to ride him on the train for a little bit. Yeah, enjoyed that, and that was a long time ago. Yeah, that's gonna be good right there. Well, alright. Just be looking out for my next video. I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do next. May do the 720 local. The two engines sitting down on the other end of the track. We may do those. So we've come down so far you can't even see the cars. We drop their own around that curve. So we may do that next. Not sure, but just keep a lookout. Subscribe and follow. Appreciate it, folks.